Hello and welcome to our presentation. We are happy to have the opportunity to present our research work today. The research topic is a very actual one, namely, how to better anticipate supply chain disruptions as caused by the COVID-19 pandemic to mitigate negative business impacts. My name is Stefan Wesenauer. I'm a PhD student at Pegaso International, and I did this research work as a joint effort together with my study fellow, Fabian Russ, who will take over the presentation for the second half. Material shortages are a recurring phenomenon in the industry. However, the current situation influenced by the COVID-19 crisis might be the most severe supply disruptions the industries have ever experienced. Microchips, with a wide range of applications, play a central role as the main component for intermediate products across different industries, such as the automotive industry. The shortage is a result of restrictions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Outbound restrictions, closed borders and manufacturing plants severely impacted supply chains and traffic flows across the globe in spring 2020. The synchronous economic upswing in many regions of the world that began in the beginning of 2021 generated strong demand that could not be fully met against the background of supply chains still severely impaired by the pandemic. The shortage of materials persists as supply cannot easily adjust to demand and may even develop its own momentum. Based on this background, the supply chain challenges the industries are facing are manifold. First, the globalization of supply chains made it more difficult to manage and control. The supply chain disruptions in the course of the COVID-19 pandemic demonstrated this clearly. The supply of microchips moved away from traditional strongholds. In 1990, Japan, Europe, and USA dominated the semiconductor manufacturing. With South Korea, Taiwan, and China entering the market, their combined market share reduced to only 35% in 2020. Ever-increasing importance of microchips to multiple industries. As already said, microchips with a wide range of applications are the key components in intermediate products across industries. Supply chain risk management is the process and tool with which supply chain managers try to tackle those challenges by evaluating and deriving mitigating strategies and actions. To be more concrete, we want to demonstrate on an example how the supply chain crisis unfolded. When the pandemic struck in early 2020, people and businesses were quickly forced to restrict their activities, sending the global economy into a brief but damaging free fall. Outbound restrictions, closed borders, and lockdowns severely impacted traffic flows and shipping across the globe. As offices and stores closed and factories from Asia to Europe and North America halted production, companies laid off workers en masse. Shortages of one thing have turned into shortages of others. The shortage of microchips, for example, has forced major automakers to slash production while even delaying the manufacture of medical devices. As businesses and consumers have reacted to shortages by ordering earlier and extra, that has placed even more strain on the system. The pre-pandemic situation with increased online shopping, just-in-time production, and strong reliance on imports made the supply chain system vulnerable to such events. The supply chain disruptions are likely to last for many more months, if not years. This leads us to the research questions. How to better anticipate supply chain disruptions as caused by the COVID-19 pandemic to mitigate negative business impacts? To answer this question, we have furthermore formulated three underlying questions. What exactly causes the microchip shortage? What raw materials do microchips rely on? What indicators are there that show a change in demand and price?
On this slide, we would like to introduce you to the different methodologies. An expert interview was conducted to understand how microchips are constructed and where they are used everywhere. An expert from the field was interviewed for this purpose. In addition, literature research was conducted to collect data on the topic of supply chain risk management and to get the causes for the chip shortage. And of course, data was collected from the field to gather data on demand and price increases related to the raw materials. We then determined the indicators to be observed in the microchip from the various results. On this slide, you can see the supply chain risk management framework. We have three different areas. In the lower area of the slide, we see a typical supply chain. Here we have different actors. We have a raw material supplier, we have transport companies that deliver the goods, we have manufacturers, producers, sellers, and consumers. Supply chains have become more complex due to globalization, and in addition to opportunities, there are also certain risks that can occur in supply chains. It is therefore important that supply chain risk management is implemented in companies. It is essential that the right indicators, markets, and also the entire supply chain are used for the risk assessment. On this slide, we see on the left side 4 indicators that should be observed in relation to microchips. The most important component is silicon. Therefore, it is of enormous importance that the price of the raw material silicon is observed. Changes in demand can be identified here. If the raw material becomes more expensive, the microchips will also become more expensive. Freight costs and freight capacity are another indicator. For example, how do the costs for transports from China to Germany develop? Another indicator is the orders my supplier receives and the capacity my supplier still has. If the orders increase and the capacity is exhausted, the production price could change. That is why it is important to have up-to-date information here about the order situation and the production price at the microchip suppliers. We have compiled an example dashboard here on the right side of the slide, which information must be observed in order to be able to react quickly. Here you can see, for example, the change compared to the previous month or the change this year in percent. This makes it easy to see the direction in which prices are developing. Here I will present to you the conclusions and significance of the study. The study contributed regarding the practical application of existing supply risk management concepts with a focus on microchips. It enhances the impact of risk management factors through the assessment of the relationships between those factors and early warning indicators focusing on a specific industry area relying on the supply of electronic components. The unique combination of risk management factors with early warning indicators of the specific industrial value chains will enable firms to substantially reduce the negative business impacts caused by supply disruptions such as the current microchip shortage in the course of the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you for your attention.